Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel, and today I've brought you the book Earthquake by Ruskin Bond, but part 4. So in the last video we told you that after the earthquake gossip, the first and the second and the real tremor of the earthquake was felt. So this is what happened during the real tremor. Earthquake chaos. Rakesh had almost reached the cricket ground when, all of a sudden, the road tilted and rose up towards him. A second later, he found himself sprawling on the ground. A deep rumbling sound seemed to be coming from the bowels of the earth, and the road kept having convulsions. It was like a huge snake thrashing around its death throes. Rakesh found that lying on the ground was even more difficult than riding his bicycle. The cricket match, which had started a little while earlier, came to an abrupt end as a huge rent appeared across the pitch. It fell into a fast bowler, an umpire, a fielder standing at a silly mood on. They were rescued later, but it was the first time anywhere that a match had to be abandoned due to an earthquake. Those who were playing or watching from the lakeside pavilion heard a thunderous roar. It was due to half the hillside falling into the lake. The earth, along with the trees, bushes, and rocks, simply budged out and then came the crashing down. Dust and water rose skywards at the same time. The bed of the lake erupted, rose like a tidal wave, and spewed its contents all over the surrounding plain. Fortunately for both cricketers and spectators, this massive surge of water was flowing in the opposite direction. But it swept away a number of parked cars, several grazing cattle and goats, telegram poles, and walls of the old jail. Here was a chance for hundreds of inmates of the jail to escape, but they were too shocked by the suddenness of the disaster to be able to do anything except make a dash for the high ground behind the jail. A few could not make it and were washed away by the rushing waters of the upturned lake. Those who reached safely huddled together in groups, waiting to be rescued. Rakesh saw the wave coming towards him as he lay on the ground. It was about just 50 meters away when he scrambled to his feet and ran for the nearest tree. Fortunately, it was a large banyan tree, well anchored with his many aerial roots, branches that had come down to the ground and taken root again. It was also an easy tree to climb. Rakesh climbed as high as he could go, glancing down as the advancing water swirled around beneath him. He saw his bicycle swept past, and he was never to see it again. Grandfather and Mukesh were in the bazaar eating sweets. They both shared a passion for gulab jamuns, rose scented milk, and sugar dumplings fried in deep brown. The old man and a small boy stood outside the shop, popping syrupy gulab jamuns down their throats. The bazaar itself was a hive of activity. It was the busiest hour of the day. The street was crowded with women shopping for vegetables and pavement vendors selling everything from shiny brassware to old clothes and second handed comics in competition with the bigger shops just off the road. Weaving in and out of the crowd were cyclists, scooterists, pony carts, stray cows, stray dogs, and even stray policemen. Mukesh had eaten 4 gulab jamuns and grandfather 6 when the sweet shop began to wobble in front of them. Then the cloth awning collapsed, burying the shopkeeper among his sweetmeats. His muffled shouts for help were lost in the noise from the street, where people were shouting and rushing about in panic. Grandfather and Mukesh found themselves on top of the struggling shopkeeper. As he freed himself, Mukesh got stuck in the awning and had to be helped out. And all the time the ground was heaving about and the shops were tottering and collapsing like a pack of cards. In a space of a few seconds, a straight bazaar had become a crooked bazaar. The road had twisted and turned into a shape of such an extent that some shops that had been on the left now turned up on the right and vice versa. A beggar in a cart who had never known to walk now leapt to his feet and ran for his life. The cows had vanished, and so had the policeman. A motorcycle had disappeared into a hole in the ground, while a car had mounted the steps of the town hall. A Tonga pony galloped down the middle of the road. Of the Tonga and his driver, there were no sign. The town hall itself had collapsed, burying a number of clerks and officials. By the time the powerful tremor had passed, several other large buildings had also come down. Grandfather did not panic. He picked up Mukesh off a heap of sweets and helped the dazed shopkeeper to his feet. Then he realized that the earthquake must have affected every part of the town. Let's get back to the house, he said. Anything could have happened. Grabbing Mukesh by the hand, he started running down the road. Mukesh had trouble keeping up with him. He had never seen grandfather running before. Dolly was helping grandmother hang out the washing when the shock came. They had been inside the house and they would not have come out alive. As in case of the first tremor, the dog began to howl and all the birds rose from the trees and began circling overhead, making a great noise. Then suddenly there was a wind rushing through the trees and the ground began to heave and quake. Dolly looked up to see the tall chimney toppling off the roof of the house. Look, Granny, she cried. The house is falling down. What will happen to my doll's house? Never mind the doll's house, said grandmother. Let's get clear of the building. They ran into the garden just as the walls of the house bulged outwards and the roof fell inwards. It was a great crash, followed by clouds of dust and plaster. Grandmother looked across the road and saw other houses collapsing almost as though some unseen giant was blowing them all down. The lines from an English fairy tale ran through her head. I'll huff and I'll puff and I'll blow your house down. There was a peculiar whistling wind, but it wasn't the wind that had done the damage. It was the quivering of the earth that had loosened the bricks and plaster, beams and rafters. The air was filled with choking dust. They couldn't speak. How flimsy the houses seemed, thought grandmother. Just dolls' houses, and yet many of them had stood for over 100 years, 100 years, and in a moment gone. The shaking had stopped, but already their home was a mount of rubble. A bedstead poked out of a broken window, a bathroom tap gushed over a squashed sofa set. There, a bit of broken desk or chair, a bit of torn carpet, a familiar hat, battered books, a twisted umbrella. These were the only reminders that this had once been a home. The goat was missing and the hens had vanished. The only thing that hadn't been touched were the clothes that Dolly and grandmother had been hanging up. They remained firmly on the washing line, flapping about in the wind. Cries from afar came to them on the wind, cries for help, people calling out for each other, and some just shouting because there was nothing else to do. Dolly and grandmother stood like statues in the middle of the garden. They were too shocked to move until they saw grandfather and Mukesh running down the road towards them. Then they too began to run. Pickle found himself trapped in the storeroom. He had been flirting between two large boxes trying to get a terrified rat when the ceiling came down on top of the boxes. There was dust and darkness everywhere. Picard did not like it one bit. He wanted to be out of that suffocating hole, and he wasn't going to sit there waiting to be rescued. The instincts of Dachshund had his own experience in digging for rats. Now he came to his own aid. He began burrowing in the rubble, trying to tunnel a way out. Do you want to know what happened after the first tremor was felt? It's in the next part of the story in the next video. If you like this part of the story, then like, share, and comment below. And if you are new to my channel, please subscribe to get more awesome, lovely, and interesting stories. Thank you.